Hey there, Pokemon Go people. Let's dive into max battling in Pokemon Go. Max battles, the way they function and all that, change quite a bit in the game, but we're just going to do our best to capture the way things have evolved up to this point. That is November 2025. All right, so in case you're new, max battles occur at structures called power spots. Instead of a gym that spawns a rate boss, you would interact with the power spot. And bosses that spawn at power spots will last for about 48 hours. One exception is when there are events that will change the spawn patterns. The resource you need to battle are max particles. You obtain max particles by tapping on in-range power spots. And you'll get 100 or 120 max particles for doing that. The soft limit of earning max particles in a day is 800. So let's just say you get right below that soft limit by tapping on 6 power spots times 120. You get 700. What is 6 times 120? I believe that's 720 max particles. Okay, so you can interact one more time to earn particles one more time. If you have a 300 particle walking bonus, then you can redeem that and exceed and bust 1,000 particles a day. So there's a way to kind of to break down your farming game. It's kind of a game inside this game. But if you're just not paying attention, you'll earn something over 800 particles a day. Yeah, max Pokemon are needed to battle max Pokemon and to capture more. Yeah, it's a little bit of a treadmill, but it's worth doing these battles because you get some of them give you quite a bit of Stardust, and some of them can be quite generous with the XL candies that you get. So especially for the legendary ones or Pokemon that you need candy for. So there are two types of max battles. One is Dynamax and the other one is Gigantamax. Dynamax battles only allow for lobbies of 4 people, and Gigantamax allow lobbies up to 100 people. Except in Gigantamax, as people lobby in, the game will, as people join, group people in cohorts of 4 that kind of function together as a team. If it's a small crowd and people can kind of talk to each other, those cohorts of 4 people can coordinate their tactics in person. If a battle is failed, the game will refund the max particles that it would have cost. So basically, trying is free. One exception though is if you're out of particles and you use a store item called particle packs, which are purchased in the store. If you once you use a particle pack and break it into 800 max particles, that's kind of a one-way activity. You can't turn the max particles back into the particle pack even if you fail the battle. So just be aware of that. All right, so max particle farming. All right, let's look at the picture on the lower right of the screen. There you can see 3 structures. One is blank at the far left. That's just a power spot that's going to become active tomorrow, the next day. The one in the middle with a 19-hour countdown, that's pretty self-explanatory. So that Shuckle, that Max Shuckle, that's a 3-star or tier 3 boss, has 19 more hours that you can battle it. It might be a little less than that, but basically that night is going to be done. And the one that says 1 day at the far right, the toxicity, the dmax toxicity, that's actually going to last more than 1 day. So that basically means the rest of that current day plus the 1 day after. That's how you kind of read what's going to happen. So if you engage with that toxicity structure and get 120 max particles today, and you go back to that structure tomorrow, you're not going to get that first interaction 20 particle bonus. You're just going to get 100 particles from that toxicity spot the next day. And the Shuckle one is not even going to be there, so you don't have to worry about that. Farming starts at 5 a.m. The structure might appear there before then, like between midnight and 4, but farming between the hours of say midnight and 5 a.m. gets really iffy. Some can, some can't. All right, so just keep that in mind. You have to be in range of those power spots to tap on them to be able to engage to get the particles. You could battle remotely, but that would also take a remote raid pass or a remote battle pass. Let's see. You can, instead of interacting with the power spot, I kind of referred to this just a minute ago, that by walking, and that's kind of shown in the lower left corner, um, section C there in the lower left shows that by walking 2 kilometers, that will turn into the opportunity to collect 300 max particles. So we were talking about that just a minute ago, where you're at 700 something particles that you earned in a day, and then so you tap on the 300 so that you go way over your soft limit of 800. Because as long as you're under the max particle collection limit, you can tap on any of those uh, power spots or your walking bonus to collect more particles. If you don't know how many, if you want to know, don't know and want to know where you are in the day of collecting max particles, just long tap on that area in the left marked with B, and you'll see that once you do that, at the very bottom, it will tell you how many more particles you can collect for that day. So in that case, I was able to collect 80 more particles. So I could either redeem the walking for 300 or interact with the power spot. And if you travel around, move around a lot, it's probably better to take the 300 to get more particles. I should also note, if you again look at B, it indicates that I had 1400 something max particles on a soft limit of 1500. So even though the 300 would put me over 1500, it's still allowable since I'm still under the soft limit. You can redeem either power spot particles or the walking. Okay. So yeah, take it's a hot minute to figure out the soft limit concept. But basically, so long as you're still under that limit, you can still do the next thing. Now, the other thing that lets you bust that soft limit is just like field research and monthly pass particles. You can keep redeeming those even if you're over your limit, or purchasing them in the store. It will still let you purchase them. It's just that once you exceed that limit, you will not be able to get particles by interacting with power spots or the walking. Again, the walking is section C. It won't let you redeem those on a given day if you're above the collection storage limit. Okay, now on to the types of max battles. This is just a list of the tiers. There are 6 tiers. The first level 1 through 5, those are Dynamax battles. Level 5 Dynamax battles will tend to be legendary bosses, and those are where you get a little bit more resources, such as 15,000 XP and 15,000 Stardust for a tier 5 Dynamax battle. Again, usually a legendary. In Gmax battle, which costs the same as a tier 5, it's 800 particles. You get 25,000 XP and 25,000 Stardust for completing a battle. So Gmax days, for example, where they roll out, well, most any Gmax day event, a good time to make a team and to share star pieces, because you're going to make a ton of Stardust on these kinds of events. Okay, moving right along. All right, so you do max battles and you're able to catch the max Pokemon that you just battled after you succeed. So you're now collecting Pokemon. So what do you do with them? What you're going to want to do is you want to invest in them to make them more powerful. Every max Pokemon, that's dmax and gmax, they have 3 types of max moves. Attack, Spirit, and Guard. So Spirit is a heal, and Max Guard deploys a shield. So Spirit and Guard, using those in battle will benefit the team. Spirit, because the heals heal your entire cohort. They heal different amounts depending on how leveled up they are. So this chart shows 8%, 12%, 16% for level 1, 2, and 3. And then the guard deploys a shield to your Pokemon, 20 soaking up 20 hit points, 40 hit points, or 60 hit points depending on level 1, 2, or 3 on your max guard. That guard also actually protects your cohort, because anyone who has shield guards once max phase is over, the max boss is going to target that anyone who's got those shields up as a priority. So if there's 2 people in the cohort who have shields up, those are the two mons that are going to get targeted by the max opponent in battle. So it protects those who don't have the shields. Or mostly, actually, you should be using your attacks. So this chart shows, the chart that's been up here shows the different power damage or power potential for damage for the different levels of max attacks. As you can see, Gmax attacks do 100 power more, or carry 100 power more than the dmax ones for each different level. At a Gmax with a level 3 max attack, that's 450 power, and dmax with level 3 max attack, that's 350 power. Pretty good either way. Now, one big difference between dmax and gmax Pokemon is that Gmax Pokemon, their max attack is a fixed attack for that Pokemon. It can't be changed, and the typing is going to be along the lines of what that Pokemon's typing is. Whereas a Dmax, its attack type, its max attack type will take on the form, the typing of that Dmax Pokemon's fast attack. So just as an example, Dynamax Metagross can have all sorts of fast attack. It can have a steel type, it could have a psychic type, a bug type, and even a ghost type. And so it can have different kind of max moves typings based on this fast attack. So the same is true for other Pokemon that have both a Dmax and a Gmax form, such as Charizard, Venusaur, and so on, where there's both a Dmax and a Gmax form. Why you might use a Dmax Charizard is if you want it to use either flying, or it to use a flying or a dragon max attack type. As far as the icon goes, you can see in the lower right, the Dynamax next to the Gigantamax. The icon, the color is filled in on the Gigantamax, where it's kind of more just a line drawing on the Dynamax. So when you see that icon next to your Pokemon, you can quickly tell whether it's Dynamax or Gigantamax. All right, so there's a lot to unpack in max battling itself. Basically, what you're going to want to do is start out with a Pokemon on the ground. You get to choose 3 Pokemon in battle, and you're going to probably most of the time for these challenging battles, you want to lead with your tank, or basically your Pokemon that's able to absorb damage. Okay, and then from there, your goal is to fill the max meter. So the max meter is shown on the far left image, and there's an arrow pointing down to it. The max meter is at the top, and the fastest way to charge up that max meter is to use primarily fast attacks, ignoring at times your charge move. Why? Your charge move doesn't do enough damage to a lot of the times to warrant the amount of time it takes for the animation to take place, and that animation time, it doesn't charge up the max meter as fast as just using fast moves only. But do note for that particular screenshot that Gmax Venusaur that's faced by the Metagross is it's going down. So it's the max meter is under half, but its health is pretty low. Definitely use your charge attacks, your charge attacks in that situation before entering max phase, because you're just going to take it out before going to max phase. One other thing to note about that screenshot is that that little Metagross in front of the Venusaur, it's being targeted for a targeted charge attack. You know that because of the three lines that appear above that Pokemon. So as soon as those lines appear above your Pokemon in the max battle, you're going to want to swipe left or right to dodge. You want to do that as soon as you see those three lines. Okay. All right. So also, we'll look at the second little screenshot. You'll see a little bubble next to the Pokemon. That basically is a boost to the max, a pretty good boost to the max meter. So in order to capture it, you need to swipe your Pokemon to the right, in this case, to the right to capture it. Okay, and that's gonna fill the max meter a lot faster too. So once the max meter is full, your Pokemon, all of your cohorts' Pokemon will enter max phase. And that's the third image where it says meter charge Dynamaxing in 2, 1. Okay, that's the time where you would switch out of your tank and switch into your attacker. Okay, because the goal is to do damage, right? So during that brief countdown, that's the time where you can switch your Pokemon. So you can and should switch a good amount of time. And that's again that phase where you can see in the far right now where the Metagross has entered max phase, where you get to choose among 3 possible max moves: guard, shield, or spirit, shield, guard, spirit, or attack. So for that particular screenshot, the user didn't unlock any guard moves, so they only have 2 options, which is to either attack with max Mindstorm, that means their Metagross has Zen Headbutt as a fast move, or to deploy heals. Now this person wouldn't want to use Spirit because you can see their Metagross is pretty well, their health bar is almost full, and they can see the health of the 3 Pokemon, their cohorts at the very top. You can see that the status, except I guess the Zacian is getting down there. So in some cases, a heal might be warranted. I don't know how strong this person has their max spirit. So let's see, they're doing. Oh, this is Eternatus. Yeah, it's a judgment call whether to heal or to attack here. If they had level 3 attack heal, then they might want to heal that Zacian. It depends. So the point is, you just got to think on your feet for different kinds of battles. Let's see. So what else do we need to talk about here? So max battles, you have basically a hidden timer of 6 minutes. After those 6 minutes, your max opponent is going to get really powerful. So you can budget for maybe 7 or 8 minutes total for a battle. But generally, if you can't get it within six minutes, it's gonna be pretty tough after that. All right, let's move on. All right, so we basically have covered my points on battling. Your team composition is going to be important, where you want to lead with a more thick boy or girl, and then switch into your attacker or your functionality. I guess I'm going to go back here. Whilst you are with your team, if you can be in person with your team, it's good to communicate so that you know who needs to shield, who needs to heal, and all that. But in many groups, it's not always possible. So you just have to be really observant, look at the field, and pay attention to everything I just said. All right, I wasn't able to go back to that slide, so we're just gonna now hop into event prep. So this tutorial was made in the midst of 2 events in Pokemon Go: Dynamax EV Weekend, running November 21 to 24, 2025. So today's the last day of that. And then the coming Dynamax Lugia Weekend, November 29 and 30. So this is not intended to be a guide for these necessarily, but since we have these events, it's a good opportunity to talk about kind of how to prepare for events in general. So generally, events have different ways they have different setups for how max particle farming works. So you just kind of have to read everything really carefully as to how things work. What I do is I see what the rules are going to be, like for Dynamax Lugia weekend. We know that they're going to boost power spot farming to over 800 particles per location, and so on and so forth. Um, and so you kind of just have to know there's a kind of a farming mini game leading up to that. So I'm going to be battling November 29th. So by November 28th, I want to be using those particles to max out my storage. Or at least that's what I would advise most people to do, so that they go in well stocked for max particles for their target date. Let's see here. The bullet points just show my thought process for how I was going to approach the EV weekend, where I wanted to do about 20 battles, and so I've been by and large able to accomplish that goal. Um, you can see this is the lower right status there, 2840 of a 1500 max particle max. So basically that's because I redeemed all my EV event particle bonuses. I was able to bust the limit. And what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to not play max battles all week because I want to save those particles so that I can battle, have more Lugia battles. I'd rather do more Lugia battles than to do EV battles. And if that means sacrificing my weeks of gameplay, that's fine. And I had also been saving my 600 max particle bonus from the Grim Snarl event. I haven't actually redeemed my walking bonus, which was 600 back then. So in the previous screenshots, you were looking at instances, you were looking at an older screenshot of where it was at 300. But because the Grim Snarl weekend, the Wild Area weekend, we got boosted to 600 max particles redemption. So I figured I would just save that for when I really, really want to use it. And I really don't want to use it for Eevee because I expect this to come to basically as a 2-star max opponent. I expect Eevee to be around a lot more often than say Lugia. So I'm just prioritizing my particles for Lugia, even though I'm several days out of the event. Other people might just go ham on the Eevee and then need particles during the week to power up their team to battle Lugia. So if I were in that situation, I would keep playing too, and then save my particles from Thursday and Friday so that I had over 1,600 particles to go into a Lugia weekend. But since I've already got that now, I've got 2,800. I'm just gonna hold tight and just do a holding pattern. Lugia is gonna be really tough. Again, this wasn't meant to be a Lugia guide necessarily, but it's a good opportunity to talk about thought process. So Lugia being Dynamax is only going to allow 4 battlers because it's Dynamax, and so we really need to be prepared for this. So for my case, I happen to have 2 Crown Zacians. One's level 50, one's level 40, and a Gmax Gengar at level 40. It was at level 35, but I powered it up a few. And so that team composition I expect to work quite well for me. So speaking of team compositions against Lugia, let's talk about our options here. So in the upper left, you can see the stats for Lugia. I just took that off of the Pokédex in Pokemon Go. So you can pull up stats for a Pokemon and see its typing and all that and get all sorts of useful information. So even though Gmax Gengar is the #1 attacker to it for this coming weekend, you can also see that Lugia's move Future Sight is going to one-shot it because Psychic is super effective to Gengar's poison type. But I suppose Gengar being glassy is probably going to get one-shot by maybe Aeroblast, but probably Hydro Pump as well. So even without that weakness, we have to acknowledge that Gengar is a little bit glassy. But Crown Sword Zacian hits pretty close, so that's why I'm going to put in 2 of those. But again, this slide just shows you some various Pokemon that I studied as viable to Lugia. given that we just had the release of Dynamax Eevee, we got a new entry to this, which is Glaceon. So Glaceon is a pretty good performer. I think its charge move does 100. Where are you? It's I think it says 190. I can't tell, but it's just under 200. So it's kind of just below the mid, but it's still viable. Like if you're a new player or newer player, you can't if you can't get a gmax Gengar and you can't get a dmax Gengar or have an Excadrill. You didn't do Wild Area, so you didn't get the Gmax Grimmsnarls. You didn't play the various fests, so you don't have Crown Zacians. You still have options because Excadrill's been spawning forever. Um, and For Glaceon, if you just played this Eevees this last few days, you'd be able to evolve your Eevee into a Glaceon. The point is just that there's different ways to get Pokemon that you need to do this. You just kind of got to prepare for things in advance. Like Lugia is going to be tough, so you're going to need a team, and there are good teams you can build by farming now or trading with people. So like for me, if I were a newer player, I wrap up my Eevee battles today on Monday, last day of Eevee. I would evolve my best one after trades and all that. I evolve my best one into a Glaceon, get that powered up a little bit. I could use my Tuesday, Wednesday particles to improve its attack to max that out. And then I'd still be able to save my Thursday, Friday particles to save for Lugia. That's just one example. Even Haunter, look at Haunter. So Dynamax Haunter hits pretty hard. So I mean, all you need is to trade someone with what is it? Ghastly, right? All you need is a Ghastly trade. But the thing is, if someone trades you a Ghastly, you evolve it into a Haunter, you'll get a free evolution to a Gengar. So you'd have a dmax Gengar, sight unseen, so easy. Or ask them to trade you the Haunter and you'd be able to evolve it. I don't know why someone would directly fight with Haunter if they got that traded in, because they just freely evolve it to dmax Gengar, which is already doing over 200 damage for its max attack. It's up there. Okay, so point is different ways to build your team. Um, for future releases, do a search, right? Do a search for GoHub is pretty good about getting timely graphics out in time. Poke Battler too. I hadn't been able to find a guide, but GoHub got their Lugia counters up well in advance. So just do your research. Okay, wow, we're at the end. Thanks for watching.